Welcome to Wager Talk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, joined by Carmine Bianco, and we are here to discuss, that's right, the World Cup, 2022 World Cup from Qatar, starting November 20th. Carmine is our soccer betting expert from wagertalk.com. Right now, you can get his World Cup package for $149. Carmine has helped me cash some World Cup tickets over the years. Carmine, can you please let everybody know what they can expect from you when buying this package?
Yeah, it literally starts pre-tournament. I will have a bunch of futures up, both group winners, teams to advance into the knockout stages, and of course, some early games with it kicking off on November 20th. If you follow along and you're one of my clients, you know that since 2018, that first video we did, we had France winning the World Cup at 7-1. We also had Croatia making the final at 40-1. So everyone cashed there, and we're pretty happy about it. And then some Champions League futures: Chelsea 20-1, Real Madrid at 18-1, and then in that same tournament, they're actually 33-1 after they lost their first game, and we doubled down on that. And of course, Cal, you and I did the Euro video and preview, and we had Italy cashing at 12-1 in that one, so I was pretty happy about that. So we hope to cash some more in this World Cup. It's a unique World Cup this year.
It is a unique World Cup this year. Normally, the World Cup is in the summertime, and I get really excited for it. I know the comments are going to disagree. I do get excited for soccer, yes, every 4 years. That being said, this one's being played in November and December. What's the reason for that, Carm?
Yeah, it's obviously it comes down to the weather, and they couldn't hold it. They couldn't hold it in June and July when it's normally held, because the average temperature there is. I'll give you both. For those that use Celsius, it's 41 Celsius. For those that use Fahrenheit, it's 106 Fahrenheit, the average temperature in June, and that's just the air temperature. Can you imagine in a stadium, the field level heat? In June and July, players would just be dropping throughout the game. So even though they say these are state-of-the-art stadiums with great air conditioning facilities, it is going to be hot. In November, the average temperature is 33 Celsius or 91.4 Fahrenheit. So it's a little bit better, but it is going to be a tournament where you're going to see a lot of pauses throughout the games. You're going to see water breaks. We saw it during the Euros in the UK and England. Water breaks throughout the tournament. It's going to happen. It's going to be a slower game. It's not going to be your typical game like the World Cup it was in 2018 in Russia, where the temperatures were a lot better than what they will be for this tournament.
All right. Apparently, they also have some new technology they're using for these games. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, as you know, across all sports, video review is such a big thing now. In European and soccer and South American soccer, it is called VAR, video assisted review. And what they're doing now is the stadiums are all equipped with 12 cameras that are mounted in the roof or ceilings of these stadiums throughout the stadium. And it's going to cover 26 different points on a player's body to indicate whether there are offsides. It's supposed to be made to speed up the game. As you know, if you watched any of it, you'll see lengthy delays, 2 or 3 minutes to stop to see whether a goal was an actual goal or whether a goal was an offside. So this is technology that was tested during the 2018 World Cup, and again during the Euros, but was never actually used. But it'll be used for the first time during this year's World Cup.
That's really interesting because, yes, NFL fans can relate when it takes 5 or 6 minutes to get an answer on whether something, or even college football, like targeting. We've seen them take significant amounts of time. So now we're going to get back to the games. Carmine, I mentioned that I usually just tail you for the World Cup, and that's because I don't know a lot. So if I interrupt, ask questions, that's because I want to know a little bit more for those who don't normally bet soccer, because I'm one of those people. I hardly ever bet it, but I ride with you every World Cup, and the last one was awesome when we had basically both of our futures tickets playing one another. So let's get in to the group stage. Now, there's 8 groups, A through H. We're going to start off with Group A. Carmine, tell me you're taking the long shot here with the home field advantage.
No, I'm not, Kelly. Unfortunately, I think they likely finish fourth in this group. I think if they earn a point in this group, it'll be a success for them. They're just one of the teams that as a host country, you qualify automatically for the World Cup. If they had to actually go through qualifying, they wouldn't be there. I want to explain to everyone as we're going through these 8 groups. This is what you have to do, or what I obviously do in coming up with our group winners. And there aren't going to be a lot of surprises early on. It was for the last 2 to 3 weeks running simulations, and simulations are based on numbers. We get to the point where we're betting numbers. We're not betting team names. We're not betting countries. We're betting numbers. And an example of that is, as before we get into this one, is you look at an opening game with England playing Iran. The line on that one, Sportsbook's about a line of England minus 334, a draw 375, and Iran plus 900. That will give you implied odds of England winning 71% of the time, a draw 19.49% of the time, and Iran only winning 9.26. Now, as my job now is to step in and look at these teams, look at their players, see who is in form. And it's very important when you're coming up with a number. If you feel England should be a bigger favorite and they should be minus 400, the draw's adjusted, Iran's adjusted, all of a sudden the probability of winning that game is adjusted from 71% to close to 80%. And running these simulations for game 1, game 2, game 3, you cannot run the simulation on game 3 because your game 3 results are predicated on what happens in game 1 and game 2. Game 3s are always different in the World Cup. And I'll quickly explain one more example. France and Denmark in the 2018 World Cup. France rolled through the first 2 games. In the third game, Denmark and France needed a draw to finish first and second. And the books overpriced France, and the game ended in a scoreless draw. And this is why the results of the third game are predicated on the results of the first 2 games for each group. With that said, Netherlands are by far the favorites to win this group. If we can get them up there on the screen. Ecuador, I've got Ecuador finishing second in this group. Senegal, who are the AFCON champions, I just don't think they are as good as Ecuador are in this group. If Ecuador get off to a good start, which is the opening game against Qatar, the host nation will always play first. If Ecuador gets off to a start, they are well on their way to finishing second in this group. This group belongs to Netherlands. I don't think there's any surprises in this one.
Carmine, we saw a little blip of Group B once you were talking about that one here. We've got England, United States, Wales, and Iran. I'm just going to be honest with you as an American. It's exciting to see the United States in the World Cup. Tell me what you think their odds are of winning this group and maybe potentially advancing and performing well for a change.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing about this group is the fan bases of the top 2 teams I have here, England and USA, not actually liking their managers. The managers are such a big part of teams and a team's success. We saw it with Italy, who didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup, changing their manager and then changing their whole team, out with the old, in with the new. And they went on a 34-game unbeaten run right through the Euros and winning the Euros. You look at England, and it's do or die for this team. They need to step up and do something. They made it to the semifinals of the World Cup. They made it to the finals of the Euros. Southgate, it's all on him to get the 3 Lions deep into this tournament, but they should win this group. For the USA, I think they are better than Wales. They're number 16 ranked with FIFA. Wales are number 19. Iran's 23, I believe. But the thing that hovers over the USA is Greg Berhalter, their manager. He needs to put his best players out there. He needs to get this team playing their best. And if they do, they will finish second in this group and make it into the knockout stages.
This is an exciting time for the rest of the world, but Americans don't traditionally love soccer as much. So this United States getting into the knockout stages could be really good for the brand. Let's go on to the C group. We've got Argentina, Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia.
Well, I can tell you one thing. When he watches this video, Johnny Detroit is not going to be happy with me because I don't have Poland advancing into the next round. I'm sorry, Johnny. Um, I've got Argentina winning this group. In the previous World Cup, 2018, I got a lot of flack from a lot of people because I said Croatia would win that group, which would put them on the opposite end of the bracket and the easier end, which could get them into the World Cup final, which happened. I just thought they were technically better at that point, and their players were all in form. This is the last kick at the can for one of the greatest, if not the greatest. I'll let the people in the chat worry about that. Footballer in the world, Lionel Messi. He's this is his time to shine, and I believe this team and their players are in form. Lautaro Martinez, who plays for Inter Milan in Italy, having a fantastic season. When your players are doing well throughout your starting 11, it carries over into the World Cup. And all the players on this Argentina team are playing extremely well right now. This team is going to go deep, and I wouldn't be surprised if they actually make it to the finals. And we'll see where my predictions go with this team. But they are definitely a team you want to put onto your betting slip for a futures bet. Mexico, great start last year, or sorry, in 2018. They beat Germany right off the bat in their group, 1-0, upset them, and got into the knockout stages. I think we're going to see another very good performance from Mexico. Normally, CONCACAF teams don't do well in these tournaments. So you've got the USA, you've got Mexico, you got Costa Rica, and you've got Canada in the World Cup this year from CONCACAF. I think Mexico, of the four, I believe, are probably the best of the four teams.
Ooh, I love that. Getting a little spicy over here. You're going to get a bunch of comments. The
Yes,
YouTube
I
comments are
am.
not something I normally read. I may have to read them for this show, Carmine. Let's move along to Group D. We've got France, Denmark, Tunisia, and Australia.
The same thing here. France has, again, such a wealth of talent. I thought they would, that talent would come to the forefront in the World Cup. I could not believe that they were 7-1 when the betting opened for that. And normally Spain were getting a lot of money, as well as obviously like teams like Brazil. So you got better odds on France, and they're such a young team, and much like teams like Spain did, where they built with youth, and they ended up winning the Euros and then the World Cup and then the Euros again. France had a very good World Cup, obviously winning it. The Euros didn't go as well as it could have, as they were upset in it. But this is a very good team with a ton of talent on it. Mbappe, you have Benzema, you have Giroud, and a very strong midfield. If you want to win in these competitions, you need a very good midfield, and France have a phenomenal midfield. So I think they win this group. Denmark, we had them in the Euros at 50-1 after they lost their first game. I told people, let's jump on Denmark at 50-1. They'll make it into knockout stages, and they could go far, and then we will hedge out and make some money. It's all about making money when you put these futures in, taking ones with a good price that you can make some money off of. If you want to ride it out, you can. But we made money with them. I think Tunisia and Australia are also runs in this group. This one's fairly simple. France and Denmark in the top two spots.
All right, let's move on to Group E. We've got a few of these left before we start talking about the knockout stages. Spain, Germany, Japan, and Costa Rica.
Yeah, this is another one that I think is pretty straightforward. The betting for the group is pretty close in this one. Spain is minus 120 to win the group. Germany is plus 120 to win the group. I believe both advance. Spain's got a very good team. They had a very good Euros. Unfortunate to lose to Italy in that one in a shootout in the semifinals, but this is a very good and talented team, and I believe that they'll bring their form here. a young team as well too, with a few obviously veterans on that team. Germany is a team I think will surprise. Now, I would love to take Germany to win this group, and I was leading this way originally, but I think Spain wins this group, and maybe the better thing is for Germany to finish second in this group. And when we get to the knockout stages, I will explain why. As far as future bets go, Japan are always a very competitive team. They actually had Belgium on the ropes, down 2-0 in the second half of that game in the knockout stages, and Belgium found a way back, won 3-2, and then eventually lost to France in the semifinals. Costa Rica, I think, is an also ran, again, a CONCACAF team that is going to play very well defensively, but they aren't going to be able to win a game against Spain or Germany. So I don't see them finishing any better than third in this group.
Carmine, let's move on to Group F. I haven't heard you say this yet, but this was something that kind of reminded me of the 2018. There's like the groups get different nicknames, and I have yet to hear you say that we have a group of death. Is there just not one this year?
I don't think there is. I'll have to go back and look at them, or we may very well hit one soon. This is one that really isn't. And listen, I am going to upset my Canadian faithful up here by not taking them to advance. But Croatia, once again, and this is one where Belgium is favored to win this group. I believe they are minus 200 or minus 225 to win this group. Croatia is plus 180 to 200, I believe. But I'm taking Croatia to win this group. This team, once again, with different talent than in the World Cup, is playing extremely well. They aren't afraid to play any team. They play well against France. They just won their group in the Nations League and will advance to the semifinals of that tournament along with Italy and I think Italy and Spain, a couple other teams. But they're playing extremely well, and it always comes down to midfield. They have a very good midfield. Kel, I'm telling you right now, in 2018, I said Croatia would make the finals, and I even got chirped in the chats by people from Croatia thinking or stating, what does this guy know? Our team is not good enough. And then Croatia makes the finals. Midfields are so important when you're playing from the back out, teams that play from their goalie out and like the build through the play. You need that midfield to connect your back line to your forwards. And it is so important. And having good midfielders is important. Croatia has them. You know who also has them? Belgium. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the best midfielders in the world, if not the best. I'll let you guys argue that out in the chat. But these are two very good teams. I just think that Belgium, a couple injuries, Lukaku just starting to come back. I'm not sure he's completely ready and completely healthy. And I just think it's going to be a tough time for them when they play Croatia. I just think Croatia wins this group. It's a toss-up, but I'm going to take the plus money on Croatia to win this group again, like I did in 2018 against Argentina.
Carmine, you took the words right out of my mouth. I like the plus money. Nobody wants to lay the chalk, especially not in the group stages. Let's keep it rolling here. Group G, we've got Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon.
So Brazil, I made this statement on Twitter that I thought Brazil, this team that Brazil has this year in the World Cup, could be one of the best teams they've brought to the World Cup. And that's saying a lot when you talk about a team that has won as many World Cups as Brazil has. I think you could take 11 guys off the Brazil bench and field a second team in the World Cup. That is how good this team is. Anything short of a final, an appearance in the finals for Brazil, I think will be looked at as a failure. Neymar, such a talent. Even players that Richarlison, who now plays for Tottenham, who got injured, he's well on his way back to playing. He had a very good qualifying. He had a very good Copa America. He's playing extremely well. This team is very talented team and just can score goals. And then these South American teams, much like Argentina, much more equipped to play in this type of heat as well too. So normally, much like the World Cup in 2018 that was in Russia, I tend to shy away from South American teams when a World Cup is played in Europe. Only one team has ever won the World Cup that wasn't a European team when it was held in Europe, and that was Brazil when they won it in Sweden, and back in, I think it was 54 or 58. It was in the 50s. This is a very talented team. They're going to win this group. Now, Serbia, people might say, you're taking Serbia over Switzerland. Switzerland, after a great qualifying for the World Cup, have gone off form. This team just does not look the same. They aren't playing the same. And that is a bad sign when you're heading into a World Cup, because there aren't enough friendlies or exhibition games that can get you back on form for this team. Serbia are dark horses in this tournament. You'll see them on my dark horse list at the end. This team, I believe, gets into the knockout stages, and then we'll see where they go from there.
All right, last but not least, let's move on to Group H. We've got Portugal, Uruguay, South Korea, and Ghana.
So this isn't the group of death, but you could almost look at it when you think about teams that are evenly matched, or in which games you expect there to be close games, not a lot of these 3-0 type of games. This is probably the group. Portugal is a team that normally builds throughout a tournament, gets better as the tournament goes. When they won the Euros, I believe that they started the Euros with 2 or 3 draws, got into the knockout stages, and eventually won the final. Uruguay, another South American team that are very good. South Korea, a team that in the World Cup also beat Germany in a must-win game for Germany on match day 3. South Korea pulled off the upset. They come to compete, and then you have Ghana as well too. So this is a tough group. I think ultimately Cristiano Ronaldo, likely his last World Cup, is going to lead this team into the knockout stages by winning this group. It was interesting to see. I saw something, I think an article on ESPN, where a supercomputer did just thousands and thousands of simulations and had Argentina meeting Portugal in the finals with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo meeting on the field one last time. As a football fan, I would love to see that. As a betting fan, likely not.
Carmine, now that we have your top 2 teams from each group, let's move on to the round of 16. Can you break it down for our viewers from this point forward?
Yeah, so at this point, the simulations have helped me determine who the top 2 teams are going to be in each group. And obviously that now populates into a tournament, 16-team tournament. And we know who's on each side of the bracket. So every number 1 seed is matched up with a number 2 seed, and you'll see them up on the screens there. So we've got the Netherlands playing the US. Obviously, I like the Netherlands in this one. Then we've got Argentina taking on Denmark. I believe Argentina is the right side there in this one. So we've got Argentina advancing. England will take on Ecuador. If the simulations are all correct, England takes on Ecuador in the next round, and England knocks Ecuador out. We got France and Mexico. Mexico, their road to the World Cup final ends here, as the multi-talented team from France, who are looking to repeat, advance to the quarterfinals. Spain and Belgium. This one is a complete toss-up. But again, I just think the talent that Belgium has had over the last 10, 15 years, not being able to pull the trigger in a big tournament, losing in the semifinals, losing to Italy in the Euros twice. Spain is a proven team. Give me Spain over Belgium. Brazil and Uruguay, 2 South American teams battling it out, but this Brazil team is too talented. They will move on. Germany and Croatia. As much as I would like Croatia to advance, they've made us money. I'm going to take this German team with a better coach than they had in the 2018 World Cup. Hansi Flick, their manager, is the former manager of Bayern Munich, and this team is playing much better. Germany to advance to the quarterfinals. And then finally, the upset of the round of 16, Serbia to knock off Portugal. Please do not hurt me in the comments, but I believe that Serbia can upset this Portugal team. And if you don't think they can do it, let's just remember in World Cup qualifying, Serbia and Portugal were in the same group, and Serbia beat Portugal and drew in the other game to win the group and send Portugal into the World Cup playoffs to have to win their way in. This Serbian team is not afraid to play football. They did it twice against Portugal. They can do it again in the knockout stages. So those are my round of 16 predictions.
I love the word upset, Carmine, and I also love some of these futures bets we're about to go over. You guys follow me on Twitter. You know I love those underdogs. So I asked Carmine for a few of his favorite dark horses. In 2018, we had Croatia, and boy, was I cheering hard for that team. They didn't get it quite done for us, Carm, but looks like you're going back to the well with them again here.
Yeah, this World Cup, I just think it's not going to be one that's wrought with a ton of upsets, but you've got to find a team that you know can make it into the knockout stages. And the minute you know they can make it into the knockout stages, that is where, with a little luck, they can make a deep run. And then they don't need to win the World Cup for you to make money. The whole idea of these big futures, 50 to 1, 80 to 1, is if they can get by the round of 16 and get into the quarterfinals or semifinals, when the books readjust the odds, you can actually take hedge opportunities and lock in some profit. Everyone in 2018 with Croatia at 40 to 1, they made it to the finals. They hedged out and they made a ton of money because I thought France would ultimately win. They did so in the semifinals as well too. Croatia, I believe, make it into. I believe they win the group, so they make it into the knockout stages. At worst, they're going to finish second in the group and make it into knockout stages. Serbia, I think, may be the dark horses of this tournament in that group that has Switzerland. I believe that they'll finish second in that group, make it into the knockout stages, and then from there, it is 90 minutes, and you just never know when two teams step on the field. So those are my two dark horse plays that hopefully we can make some money hedging in during the knockout stages of this tournament.
You said you didn't expect a lot of upsets in this World Cup. So talk to me about a couple of the favorites you're looking at.
Yeah, I believe that this is a good tournament for the South American teams. I believe Brazil and Argentina are coming into this tournament in absolute fine form. So straightforward, those are two of the three favorites in the tournament. Brazil are one of the favorites. Argentina, I think, are third choices in this tournament, with I believe France being the second one. But this is one where if Brazil and Argentina end up on the same on the same half of the bracket, once we get into the round of 16, one of them is going to get to the finals. So you're getting a team at 4 to 1, you're getting a team at 6 to 1, and 6.5 to 1. And once they make it to the finals, you can decide at that point if you want to ride it out, or if you want to, even in the semifinals, you can decide whether you want to pull back your liability at the very least and ride out the rest. And then this German team at 10 to 1, they were close to making my dark horse at 10 to 1, but it's not quite high enough. At 15 to 1, they are dark horse. At 10 to 1, I consider them one of the favorites.
Let's go through the quarterfinals now because I want to hear your predictions. We're going to start off with the Netherlands versus Argentina.
Yeah, and this is one where, again, we look at the quarterfinals and it sort of breaks down to really liking two South American teams and really liking two European teams. Argentina, I think, again, are going to have a very good tournament. I see them beating Netherlands here. I just think they're a technically better squad, and it's just the Lionel Messi factor as well too. I think they are rallying around him to get him a World Cup before he retires, but they should at least get into the semifinals. So we're taking them. Of course, Brazil to beat Spain. So we're going to take Brazil in this one. Like I said, with this Brazil team, anything short of a finals will be probably a disappointment for this squad. England, the Three Lions, it ends for them here against France. I think France are a better team. So we're taking France to at least make it to the semis in their quest to repeat as World Cup champions. And then Germany over Serbia. You're sensing a theme here, Kel, and I've got Germany into the semifinals now after this quarterfinal win over Serbia.
All right, next up, we're going to the semifinals. We got 4 teams left. Carmine, Argentina versus Brazil, and France versus Germany. Who's making it to the finals?
Yeah, it is South American versus South American and European versus European. I'm going to go with Brazil to make the finals. I think they put an end to Lionel Messi's run to the World Cup. I wouldn't be too disappointed if it went the other way. This is probably the one matchup in the semifinals where I'd be perfectly happy with either team winning and making the finals because I just love players from both teams, such tremendous talent through the starting 11s and the bench on both these teams. And then I'm taking Germany. I'm going to take Germany to end France's run to the finals in this one and get the Germans into the finals yet again. Another powerful team.
Carmine, that makes my heart hands really sad to hear that you have Argentina going down to Brazil. Does that mean you have Brazil winning the whole thing?
No, unfortunately, I don't. I feel this is going to be almost a carbon copy of 2014 when the World Cup was held in Brazil. But at that time, it was Argentina facing this German team. And that game was 0-0 at the end of 90 minutes, went into extra time, looked like it was going to penalty kicks. But Mario Götze with a 113th minute goal gives Germany the 1-0 win to win the World Cup. And I'm going to take Germany to do it again. They're 10-1. Listen, if it's Germany versus Brazil or Germany versus Argentina, the great thing is that we're going to have some plus money tickets to cash on either one of the sides, but I'm going to take the Germans in this one. I think the managerial change that they had from the 2018 World Cup, whereas it was Joachim Löw and the team just did not play for him. Hansi Flick has done a very good job with them, and this is a team that's just going to get better as the World Cup progresses. So 10-1, I'm going to try and cash that ticket.
I love it. 10-1 sounds like a nice ticket to be rooting for throughout the World Cup. Remember, you guys can head over to wagertalk.com. You can get Carmine's entire World Cup package for just $149.